Should I pre-marinate my ribs or just season them and throw them on the grill? Then this video is for you.
Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
That's it. Today we're going to find out if you should be marinating your ribs ahead of time or you should just season them and throw them on the grill. Of course, I selected some of the best ribs that you can find, and in my personal opinion, that is the baby back rib. And the reason why I like them so much is because they got this little bit of fat in between the meat that just tastes delicious. When that renders down, it becomes juicy and flavorful. But if you want to use any other type of rib, just go ahead, because this is an experiment you might want to try at home. I'm going to leave one rack of ribs as it is, but the other one I'm going to marinate. And when you're marinating, you have two options. Either you're going to go the acidic route or you're going to go the oil route. And by that I mean mixing the ingredients for your marinade. Now, making a marinade is super easy if you have the Pitmasterx seasoning. All you're going to do is just take that seasoning, put it in a bowl. And of course I'm using pork seasoning since we're cooking some delicious ribs. To that I'm adding sunflower oil. I'm gonna mix it up, and that is literally how easy it is to make a good marinade. All of the flavors that you need for your barbecue ribs are right in this bowl, made in under 10 seconds. Now take the baby back ribs, put them in a large tray, and then brush on the marinade. Just pour it on and make sure you get every last little bit. Brush that marinade everywhere onto the ribs so you get the best coverage that you can. And right here in the back of the baby back ribs we have the marinade. So we're going to put a little extra effort in and cut into the membrane, making sure that all of those flavors can penetrate into the meat. Brush that on. And now we got ourselves some beautiful marinated ribs and some untreated ribs. These can go back into the fridge for at least 4 hours. Once the ribs marinated, the marinade kind of sticks to the ribs and it soaks into the ribs. After 4 hours, the flavor of the marinade should gone into the ribs. So that would mean that we now have lots and lots of flavor on the inside. Now for our regular ribs, you're just going to sprinkle on some of that seasoning on the front, and on the back we're going to do the same thing. We're also going to cut into the membrane and put some seasoning on it. There we go. Make sure you cover the sides. Check the sides always. Of course, I'm not gonna double season the marinated ribs because then you have a chance of over seasoning them. I'm gonna let these sit on the countertop, and in the meantime, I'm gonna fire up the Napoleon kettle grill. I'm gonna put bricks in to create a direct and indirect zone. Then I'm gonna put in some light charcoal, a fire starter, light it up, and then add these heavy coconut briquettes. Once it's lit up, I'm gonna put in the grill grates, and then, of course, the regular seasoned ribs, and now the marinated ribs over indirect heat. Final thing to do is add a chunk of smoke wood, close the lid, set the top vent to all the way open and the bottom vent to almost all the way closed. And now we're going to smoke them and check the temperature, because once the core temperature hits the 70 degrees Celsius, we're done smoking. The ribs are almost done and I'm going to need a barbecue sauce. The problem is I don't have a barbecue sauce in my house at the moment, but the good news is that we have plenty of barbecue sauce recipes on our website, pitmasterx.com. So I'm going to show you one of them that is very easy to make. All you're going to do is put in 1/3 of ketchup, 1/3 of apple cider vinegar, and then you're going to add 1/3, oh my, 1/3 of bottle caps. Let's not do that. That's a big no-no. And then you're going to add 1/3 of cane sugar. And don't forget a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, because that's really going to transform, because that is what is going to make your sauce taste like a barbecue sauce. And of course, to match it with the ribs, we're going to need 2 tablespoons of the Pitmasterx pork seasoning, since that is the flavor profile that we put on the ribs. Close the lid of your jar, give it a good shake, and of course, perform a taste test. Perfect. Now let's check the ribs. Look at that. This is what I'm looking for. Let's measure the core temperature of the ribs. That is over 70 degrees, and that is over 70. That's actually a little closer to 80 degrees core temperature. So these ribs are good to go on to the next phase. Let's pull out the aluminum foil. And we're gonna start with the marinated ribs. And let's take a closer look at them. We can see a dry bark on the outside. We got lots of seasoning that sticks to the outside. There's definitely great color profile buildup. I really like what I'm seeing here. It's a good sign that these ribs are definitely going to work. So the next step, I'm going to put a little bit of barbecue sauce on the paper. No need to add extra sugar. There's plenty of it in the barbecue sauce. I am going to add a couple of slices of butter, not too thick, just a little bit. And if I say just a little bit, I never mean a little bit like a normal person. I mean a little bit like a Pitmasterx version of it. And then we're going to take the ribs, roll them onto the butter and fold this up, turning it into a neat little package. To be able to recognize this one, I'm gonna just make a little twist right here, like a little pointy thing. And these are my marinated ribs. They go back on the barbecue. Now we can inspect the ribs that we smoked like we normally do. They look perfect. We got a nice dry bark on the outside. We got that mahogany color from the smoke ring. It is a good looking rib. And as a matter of fact, it looks like this one picked up a little bit more smoke color. But once we'll slice into it at the end, we'll see which one has the better smoke ring. A little bit of barbecue sauce, a little bit of butter. Ribs go on, fold them up. And these also go back on the barbecue so that they can continue to cook until they fall apart tender. The ribs are done, it's time to take them off. How do you know that they're done? Of course, I measure the core temperature of the ribs, and then also I do a poke test. So that's how I know. Now these are the ribs that have been marinated. The pointy thing right there. Let's open this up and take a look and see how they turned out. Ooh, well, they definitely cooked down to perfection. Look at that. Whoa, they got such a beautiful shine and glistening to them. Bones are popping. It looks very, very promising. Let me see if I can. Insane, they look fantastic. I was just a little mesmerized. I was looking at them, I was like, they look tasty. They kind of like, there's like a little bubbling going on, a little oozing of fat and grease, and definitely good looking ribs. But there's one more task we have. It's glazing the ribs. The glaze is going to give you what is in the end that beautiful shine of barbecue that we all love so much. Now you have to have plenty of barbecue sauce, but the good thing is, if you don't, you just make a little extra. And now you can do it in 10 seconds. It'll shine on, this goes back on the barbecue for that last little run. 5-10 minutes, maybe. Of course, I'm going to do the same thing for the regular ribs. Ooh, got a nice shine on them too. Let's get some of that sauce on. Starting to get hungry right now. Let's put this one on the barbecue. There we go. We're about to find out which one of these is best. Moment of truth. Let's get the ribs off. First, I'm going to get my reference ribs off so we can take a look at them. They look absolutely fantastic. Look at that shine. How beautiful are these? Come on, it just looks so good. There we go, let's get a rag. I always got to follow the ribs. They're never straight, that's right. Whoa, we got a smoke ring, guys. We've got a smoke ring. Let me show you what we got. We've got a smoke ring that is so smoke ring, only here there's no smoke ring. You see that? These are the regular versions. Let me see if they want to fall off the bone. That's right, clean off the bone, nice consistency. Let's take a bite. So that's how we always do it. Always win, always score with this technique. You gotta be careful, they're a little hot. But how are these ribs? Let's find out. I think the smoke ring is actually very comparable. The ring looks good, so that kind of means they both got the same amount of smoke ring, and marinating them doesn't prevent them from taking on more or less smoke. And it actually looks pretty insane. Now as for the bark goes, I like it a little less, because when the outside dries out, that's when you get the better bark. But if you marinate it, it's going to stay moist for a lot longer time, so you're going to get a less beautiful bark. These are just as fall off the bone as the other ones. Let's take a bite. This is interesting. You see, there's more flavor to this rib than the other one. But basically, if you bite into it once, it's like, what's going on? But on the other hand, there's like this caking on top of the ribs. There's just too much there. It's like biting into a wet swamp, and that's not what I'm looking for. But on the other hand, you get a bonus. It tastes better. Personally, I think this is an awesome experiment. And I really would love for you to try this at home, because if you're making ribs on a regular basis, this is one of those things where you can figure out what you like personally. And personally, I like the traditional version instead of the marinated version. It just has a little bit more balance in between meat flavor and regular seasoning, and then not having the caking on top, and it just tastes a little better to my personal opinion. But I can definitely imagine people enjoying a more enhanced flavor with the marinated version ribs. So let me know what you prefer down below in the comments, or if you're going to do the experiment, or what you would do different about this experiment. It always helps, and maybe we can come up with a whole new concept that we need to try out. Thanks again for watching, and in the meantime, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling. Oeh, is it back? Is it back? Imagine.